Welcome back, everybody. The Houston Outlaws just pulled off the 3-1 victory over the Boston Uprising in our second match of the day, and they will start off this stage at 2-0. And they're looking a lot like their stage one selves so far under this new meta. But let's move on to our final match of the evening. We got the San Francisco Shock taking on the Seoul Dynasty. Now, both of these teams started off the week with a loss. So one of these teams is going to be walking out with their first win of the stage tonight. For the San Francisco Shock, they need every win they can get to make it to the season playoffs, and they're still trying to gel with this lineup that came in kind of late in the season. As for the Seoul Dynasty, they need every win they can get to win the Pacific Division so they can get that bye week. And remember how important that bye week is, because that basically means during the playoffs, they get to sit down in the first round, sit back and just kind of watch everybody else play and, you know, download, get their information, and develop their strategy. So that bye week's important. This match is important. Every map matters, as I always say. Yo, Blizzard Arena, give it to me one more time for our final match of Friday night. And let's get into this thing, get all ramped up with Puckett and the crew at the desk.
Thank you so much. As Malik said, Seoul very much in the playoff hunt. Yes, it's a team that hasn't been to the stage playoffs yet. They've been missing from stage 1, 2, and 3 playoffs. But they are still very much in the running for the season playoffs. And as you take a look at the overall standings, you got to be nervous because Houston and Gladiators both went 2-0 this week. Seoul, you're currently sitting in 5th place, but you are not a lock. That is unless you look at the Pacific standings here, guys. And Bren, walk us through here. Why does Seoul still have a great opportunity to steal this Pacific?
They have been steadily slipping, Puckett, but if they get a couple of wins under their belts and they get that #1 seed in the Pacific Division in particular, they actually get a bye actually into the semis. So they are going to be in a fantastic position to actually get essentially
worth a lot of money.
It's worth a lot of money, essentially, that #1 seed. So if they can overtake Valiant here by taking some wins against some easier teams, you know, unfortunately, they did lose to Valiant earlier in this week. But if they do get the wins and Valiant starts slipping as well, they're going to be in a very, very good position.
Yeah, they definitely can't afford to slip up. This is a must-win game for the Seoul Dynasty.
For both teams.
Yes, yes, of course. And these are the next games coming up for them. They're playing versus the Excelsior and the Spitfire after this. So in many ways, this is a must-win game for the Seoul Dynasty, but also they need to start preparing for the other teams in the league, because Spitfire will be rough. Versus New York Excelsior, you're almost certainly the underdog. And so you need to get get a good feeling going for the meta, the picks, the Brigitte. We haven't really seen great play coming out of the Seoul Dynasty so far, so you really need to put some work in and start adapting.
The Shock not out of the running yet, but let's talk about this squad because they lost earlier in the week. What do they need to do today to take out a Seoul squad that took the Valiant to a Game 5?
So for me, in particular, I'm going to be paying attention to one player in particular, and that's Architect. So I mentioned earlier, every team needs a star player that they can build around and really help carry momentum forward. And for the Shock, I believe this is Architect, because the guy is incredibly mechanically skilled. He's a selfless player. He plays what's needed at the time, and he can pretty much always guarantee him to pop off on that role.
I mean, he carried this Gibraltar.
He really did. He solo carried this for them in a way. And it's just this Widowmaker is so fantastic.
So
we have so many good Widowmaker players in the Overwatch League that it almost feels, you know, disingenuous to call him one of the best, because there's so much competition. But he is one of the best. He's definitely up there in terms of the argument, the conversation for who is the best Widowmaker player. And that is somebody you definitely want to be building around, who you want to be enabling as much as possible to carry you to the win.
Now, one thing that we've noticed from both of these teams is that they've had some tank issues. And I feel like, although there's been some issues for the San Francisco Shock, Seoul has some much deeper-rooted issues. We saw a guy who's been playing support, Ryu Jae-hong, for like a year and a half. He's been on support. He's playing main tank. Johnny, what's going on with Seoul right now?
Well, they needed some leadership and some new playstyles. Miro wasn't working out, so they put Ryu Jae-hong on the Winston role, and it works out because he has a lot of leadership. But now in stage 4, playing the Reinhardt, he hasn't looked that good. And so I'm asking myself, do you put Miro in for the Reinhardt sometimes? I mean, Ryu Jae-hong can play the Winston and it's working out great for them. But so far, his Reinhardt really hasn't been up to par. What has been up to par, though, is their DPS player. Fleta and Munchkin, they keep performing well. And they look really good versus the LA Valiant. They went to map 5, and really, these two guys were the carries of the team in many ways. It just didn't work out on Nepal when they were playing the Reinhardt composition with Ryu Jae-hong. So I think you need to expect Munchkin and Fleta to perform like they've done so many games in the past. But also, do you sub in Miro for the Reinhardt, or do you let Ryu Jae-hong arguably underperform on that hero and make a sacrifice for the leadership? I don't know the correct answer, but I'm hoping to see a good answer from the Seoul Dynasty because they have the quality in other areas.
We haven't seen a Tracer really work yet in Stage 4. So what do you want to see Munchkin running today? Because Fleta, I expect more far at Widow, right?
We get there because Fleta is such an awesome DPS player, one of the best DPS players in the league. So if you put Munchkin on the Brigitte, I think it could work out. We haven't seen Munchkin play any other hero except for Tracer so far this season, or in his career even. So we don't know if the flexibility is there, but I know I play versus him in ranked, and the guy is so sick on so many heroes. I know he has the skill required. So maybe put him on Brigitte, which is kind of counterintuitive.
All right, we'll see what Seoul decides to run today. They're mixing things up. We'll see what they have in store for the Shock. For now, though, I want to check in on the maps. Let's look at the numbers. How do the teams compare on the 4 games we're going to see today?
Yeah, historically, it's going to be in favor of Seoul here today. You can see Horizon Lunar Colony. This is, again, one of their standard maps that they are brilliant on. And Shock, they have not won a map here on Horizon yet. Things could be different today. Who knows? Shock might have been doing their homework. You know, they've had the recent addition of Krusty coming in from Boston Uprising to coach them. That is probably going to be helping quite a lot indeed. But Seoul Dynasty, just because of that one map on Horizon, they are coming into this game with a big advantage.
Yeah, and again, the Reinhardt and Zarya matters a lot. We know that Sunba Zarya is fantastic, but maybe on Blizzard World, maybe on Oasis, we'll see San Francisco Shock get the advantage because Super's Reinhardt is definitely up there. He didn't perform that well versus Fisher for obvious reasons, but still, Super could certainly bring the Reinhardt and run over Ri Jahong.
I've just been told the players are ready. Are you guys ready? Blizzard Arena, make some noise. It's time for the final match of the night. Introducing first, it's the boys from the Bay. Give it up for the San Francisco Shock. The Shock slowly building all season long. Stage 4, they have all of their pieces, but they have a 12-19 record. They need to go flawless here if they want to close out this Stage 4 strong. You're looking at the matchup today. We already highlighted Architect. Who else is going to have pressure on their shoulders?
Yeah, well, like I said, Super needs to perform on the Reinhardt because we have a few maps coming up, and I think that they do feel very confident running that Reinhardt. Another person that has to step up is Nevix because he played the Brigitte, but he didn't necessarily flex or swap to other heroes as required as fast as we wanted here on the deck. They were a bit slow to adapt the previous game, so they need to bring it out to be a bit faster and, you know, play more of their comfort zone.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Johnny. I feel like my main issue with Shock in their last performance was they weren't switching quick enough for my liking. They were kind of staying on these dated compositions, you know, half and half, not really wanting to fully commit to one side or the other, and it did cost them a lot of these games. But I have faith in Shock, to be honest, to be able to turn this one around today. They're a team that they are open to this criticism, and they know and they can learn from their mistakes in the past. And I know they're all kind of like quite young players as well. I saw in the backstage as they were walking out, Sleepy was actually sort of comforting Architect a little bit. He had his arm around his shoulders, you know,
sharing his blanket,
trying to share the blanket, you know, trying to big him up a little bit, say, you know, you've got this, man, you've got this. This is a team that is almost like a family team-like environment, and I've got faith that they do have what it takes to take it against Seoul Dynasty.
Family's ready to eat tonight. Let's see their opponents on the right side of the stage. Please give it up for the squad from Seoul. It's the Dynasty. The inverse of the record from the San Francisco Shock. Today, the Seoul Dynasty entered the match with a 19-12 overall record. They're looking for a big 20, and of course, challenging for the #1 spot in the Pacific Division.
Yeah, and it always feels like we're selling the Seoul Dynasty short. They haven't made the stage playoffs any time yet, but they're always in the top of the season standings because they are so consistent with their performance. There's so many great individual players on this team. They just haven't reached their peak potential, arguably. The meta hasn't played in their favor yet, but maybe with a few changes, they could really start shining ahead of the season playoffs.
Fleta made the crowd go wild in his first match here in Stage 4, but as we take a look here at the stage, there is a big change on our roster list. Gambler was in this original lineup today. Looks like he is out. Toby swapping in last minute.
Yeah, Toby's going to be coming in for him, and it's a bit of a last-minute swap, but it shouldn't be affecting them too much, in my opinion. Toby has a lot of experience with this squad, you know, and they should be prepared for this. The biggest interest for me is Weekid on the screen right now. This guy's coming in. We were bigging up Munchkin coming into this game now, but it looks like they're going to be opting for Weekid, and the only reason that I can really think of here is the Junkrat.
Yeah,
that's what they want to be running here. A little bit more flexibility on Blizzard World. I like this change. It bodes well for Seoul, and Seoul have never really looked quite uncomfortable on Blizzard World. So this should be a nice game for them to get back into and hopefully take a win here today.
A new stage, a new meta. Can't wait to see which compositions are coming out for map #1. Make some noise, Blizzard Arena. It's time to get this party started. Bringing you the action, we got Semler and Hex.
Thank you, Puckett! And we are going to be getting into the match. It's the last match of the day here, Hex. And I'm just going to keep doing that, man. You know, Puckett just makes me so happy.
I just want him to get longer and louder, because I think throughout the entire Overwatch League, it does just get more sing-songy.
Yeah, eventually. You know, we're just going to get into it where there's going to be like a voice recording. You know,
the game's going and it's still Puckett
still
being
echoing
screamed.
off in the distance. You know, just the way that you always want. You know, you always want Puckett to come back, come back, come back, come back.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. I don't know where we're going with that one, dude.
Excellent throw.
That is really setting it up for us here. All right, Hex. We got Blizzard World to kick things off here between these two teams. I mean, pretty much brought up on the desk, but of course, as we get closer to the stage playoffs, everything matters for these guys because they're still in the running potentially, or at least in Seoul's case.
Yeah, San Francisco mathematically is, but not necessarily. But he could win this stage still. The stage is possible.
Dude.
They've been improving and improving and improving.
Yes, that's true. And that has been like the long gamble coming in from San Francisco Shock, but they kept having to make changes. They had to be patient at first, not quite the roster they were looking for, and then they start making changes to the roster, and well, it's just been a learning process for them pretty much all season one.
Speaking of making changes to the roster, I mean, that's exactly what Seoul's been doing for the last several weeks, going back to stage 3 as well. Of course, Jae Hong was the Jae Kong for a bit on Winston. Now he's the Rue Jae Hart. He's going to have to play Reinhardt. This case, I got nothing clever for his Orisa name. I really don't. But they're going to set up high ground here. This is what they do on defense. And then, of course, the guy to watch always is going to be Fleta. So hopefully the Fleta versus Architect battle comes into full force.
That's going to be a spicy fight. And, well, you know, Fleta hasn't really let down at any point, it seems. He's always been kind of Mr. Reliable for Seoul Dynasty. It's been everything else that's been happening around him in the roster where he hasn't been quite getting that support from his team. So we're going to see, are they going to show up today, Seoul Dynasty? They're starting on the defense, favorite side here at least, and while San Francisco Shock will be on the offense.
And the reason you've run Wakid here is lately there's just been so much Pharah and so much Junkrat that you want your projectile specialist in there. Munchkin has mostly been playing Tracer. Even at times where they tried to play him on Junkrat, he would give it like 1 life and then be like, nah, I'm going back to Tracer. So that's why they're having him in here. And of course, Fleta can play absolutely everything. That's a nice first pick as Sleepy walks into some bombs.
But he gets reassembled so quickly. Turns out that Mercy's a mechanic as well. Brought him back to life, and well, they can't quite get in here. Sinatra, yes, he's all the way in the back line right now on the other side of the point. Yeah, exactly, just chilling out, waiting for his team to figure out how to actually get through the choke point. Seoul Dynasty so far, they're doing a pretty good job of this defense.
A little bit interesting. I thought San Francisco might try to go with the Zarya and Reinhardt combination here because Sinatra is a very accomplished Zarya player. But San Francisco is also one of the teams that last time they played in Stage 4, they still ran a ton of dive. It's what they're good at, it's what they like to do, and they've got the players for it. So they're just running pure dive, putting some pressure on the point, and 1 tick for free.
Yeah, pretty much. Zumba dropping so low that he's at risk of losing his mech, and sure enough, that's going to happen. Fleta gets caught by Architect, and well, things are finally panning out here for San Francisco Shock. They get the dive, they get the push, and Seoul Dynasty not quite able to react in time to deny the first point take. Feels like they hardly ever got anybody there to contest at all. Every time they put a body on there, boom, it died.
It's such an interesting way to run the dive. Be like, oh yeah, we could jump up into your anti-dive composition, but you're nowhere near the point. So you come to us, you put the onus on the defense who's not even anywhere near the point, no problems there. And now Seoul is going to switch into the Brigitte. I've been practicing. I swear I'll get it by week 5. So maybe that's one of the reasons you want to run Wakid as well. Perhaps he is their ace on that hero, and you don't have to switch off one of your other DPS or other tank or support players.
Architect's got the blade online now, so we'll see how this next fight pans out. Could get a little dicey. But waiting for the push. So Bubble is there. I know I am. On the back right now. Just like Architect, look at this. There we go. First kill and a second as well. Stunned for a moment, but that is not going to be enough. Seoul Dynasty, 3 quick deaths for them.
I think the reason you run that blade as quickly as possible is because if it doesn't work out, then you're probably going to switch Architect over to the Widow. Widow Tracer was, of course, the in-meta on Blizzard World on second point. And now, you know, we are on the Blizzard World where it's been a little bit changed, a lot easier to cap second.
Well, I managed to get through. Oh, Jae Hong just decided to get in there. Okay, fair enough. And that's going to cost him his life. Sinatra with the stick. Not going to matter if you're trancing, although the trance might be able to allow for the res. Not quite sure if he managed to get it off. Looks like he got canceled out. If you do separate the Mercy from the corpse, makes it tough to bring him back to life.
A great play by Super to prioritize that target instead. It's essentially like getting a kill with the Primal Rage, to be able to deny that resurrection that wanted to come in. Over the top with the bomb, doesn't find anything. Nice play around by Soul. They're still in this on deep.
They're still hanging in there by a thread. Zumba, though, has been D-Max. Now we're going to actually have the rest of San Francisco Shock following it up, and it's nothing but white in the kill feed. Seoul Dynasty over 1. Well, 4 minutes. Really quick work so far from San Francisco Shock. A little bit of hesitation on the first point, but it's been smooth sailing since.
They're flying through this. They've shown that dive is still viable on several points on several maps here. Sinatra's doing just fine on the Tracer thus far. He has 13 and 6 and 0 deaths.
He's staying alive, man. He really put it in motion there for the first point take. Well, let's see. He's got Pulse online again. And there's a nice juicy target. Manages to pick up the 1. Moth has been eliminated by Fleta, so a 1-for-1 trade, and sure enough, not quite getting the target he was hoping for there, Sinatra. Toby will be able to bring Guido back to life, and Fleta with a kill on Super is going to grind things to a halt here for San Francisco Shock. Finally, Seoul Dynasty able to win a fight.
There are support picks, and then there's mercy picks, and one is much better than the other. Seoul, of course, able to take down Moth on one side of things, able to resurrect their own player on the other side. We're going to go through 2 final point, and Rally is about to come online, so Seoul is going to start making that Zenyatta nigh unkillable.
Well, there it is, the spot. Valk is out. Another follow-up dash. Needed to hit that shot. There's the stun and denied. Beautiful work there. Quick reactions in from Seoul to stop him from doing the damage. They still lose Guido, but again, Toby's going to be able to res him back up. And now the fight will continue, perhaps in favor of Seoul, although Nevix finds Wakid with the self-destruct.
They got the rally off, but it didn't hit everyone that they needed. Guido is not the giant 350 HP Zenyatta now, and he will go down for it. Still some decent trades coming in for San Francisco.
Bit of a scrappy fight right now. Exactly, as Fleta is getting pressured by Architect, who's trying to find a way in. Progress getting denied, at least for now. Zumba is going to get demeched and killed quickly, and now San Francisco Shock can start making some progress again here with the payload. Rest of Seoul Dynasty are going to have to wait for the res to get back in here.
Sinatra still hasn't died this map, and he's playing Tracer against a Brigitte, so you would think that at some point he's going to get stunned and just comboed out, and it just hasn't happened. He's played pretty careful around it, and some stuns have come through on Architect. There's Sinatra's first death.
Yeah, again, Hex, I mean, the record continues, the perfect curse. I'm wondering if you're a witch doctor at this point.
They do call me Nazebo. No one does.
Oh, and the kill on Moth. Zumba with the self-destruct. Not going to get the same result there, unfortunately, for Nevix, but it is going to be Seoul Dynasty for now, at least holding, and San Francisco, they get close, but not quite able to pull it off. 2 minutes on the clock for them to pick up that 3rd point.
Still flying pretty well here, and they're also going to have a Blade and a Transcendence and a Pulse Bomb, and then there's a Primal Rage to really close it out. The cart's not quite there where you want to pop Primal Rage just yet, because you want to do it at the very end to knock off any of that stall. So a little bit of push from these DPS ultimates, and then you start bashing people about.
Fleta gets the mind there to spot any of the potential flanks that could come through, but San Francisco Shock right now, they're interested in working together as a killer unit. The Death Ball has been formed. They've got ults aplenty. Sinatra chucks his Pulse Bomb in, doesn't find a target with it, unfortunately, but is going to be able to just keep that pressure going here, as you guys can see, just focusing down the tank, the big target.
A lot of ults forced out on both sides now, and they know that cooldown is out, so they go into the Blade.
There we go, the setup. Architect finds the 1, not quite going to be able to find a second one. The self-destruct going to run out the rest of that Blade, but these kills right now shaping up nicely for San Francisco Shock. Toby brings Guido back to life. That's going to be the trance. As soon as he's got it, he puts it in use. It might be the turning factor here for Seoul Dynasty. Thanks to the trance, they're able to just keep alive and find a few kills to force San Francisco Shock back.
The res into the trance. He also got a couple kills there, and then Fleta will clean up the rest of this mess. Nevix have been so good with self-destructs on this map in particular. He's the only ultimate available for the San Francisco Shock, and now with below 60 seconds, you have to think it might be their last push.
Yeah, now with the upper sight, no hiding here from Fleta or the rest of Seoul Dynasty. They can see through walls for the duration. You can say Fleta just going to work, trying to put some pot shots in here if he can find a kill. That's a headshot, wasn't fully charged, unfortunately.
These angles that Widows take are just ridiculous. They're just ridiculous. He's nowhere near his team. Usually you're in the back line or something like that, but Sinatra does get stunned out. That is one of the reasons that people theorize he'd be unable to run dive against Brigitte.
So much control, the heals, the little personal shield. So many tools for Brigitte.
Speaking of which, Rally's about to be up too, so they're going to be enormous for this fight if they all get together. Fleta's not going to get any of the benefit from this because it's a mile away from his team, and that's where, you know, Widows usually like to hang out.
Keep holding on to it for now. Guido, though, kill on Sinatra. That'll stop it up. And well, I mean, you have somebody who's out in the fight, so he's not even getting the rally benefit, but still, it is Architect to bring it back. Removes Fleta, Toby brings him back to life, though. So you can see from Wakid's perspective, just swinging the mace left and right. Super gets blown up by Zumba, but we will have the counter self-destruct. Nothing there, though, for San Francisco Shock. They still have Architect. Could still be a hero blade here to make the difference. And sure enough, he'll find a kill on Guido. Again, not quite able to find Toby. Toby's flying high right now.
The backline, too, it's super pushing people around, and this Flail has found no one to connect with recently, and now that healing is going to not be there for Wakid coming through. Still not over yet. Spawn advantage hugely in favor of the defense.
So that's 2 kills there for Wakid, turning it around. Nevix with the...
Architect, 3 kills.
Architect is coming up big. Now we have a Doomfist on the map, and so he can get some punching going if he wants. Guido with the trance, just buying time until the reses come through here from the rest of his team. We're into overtime now for San Francisco Shock. They need to cut Seoul Dynasty off, trying to get around these choke points, trying to whittle them down before they can get onto this point to contest. But the big tanks are going to make the play here for Seoul Dynasty, and the rest of the team follows. Jaehong falls to Sinatra, though. That's not going to help things here for Seoul, and they've lost Zumba as well.
An enormous transcendence there. Sleepy has been a low-key carry for San Francisco in the games that they've won. Architect comes through at the end, and some really smart switches there at the end from Nevix and his fellow supports. Moth did switch to the Lucio as well, so they negate that defender's advantage. Get all 6 in there for the last fight.
Well, we're going to take a look now at another one of these highlight moments from this man here on your screen. Architect has been standing out for San Francisco Shock.
Yeah, this was when the rally was about to come through. He goes to the back and he gets flooded immediately right here. That's the most satisfying way to kill a Widow.
Yeah, that's a tough break there for Fleta. Not quite able to survive it. Architect, I mean, right now he's just tearing away in terms of stats. Nobody really close to him on the map right now. Even Sinatra, despite the fact that Sinatra's, I mean, he had a strong start, hardly died at all until the very end. 4 deaths for him. Architect, through and through, 2 deaths while getting 17 final blows.
Yeah, the DPS for the Shock were untouched for most of that map until they got to this kind of choky area on last where dive doesn't work as well. It still works pretty well. Seoul likes to run the Pharah on offense here. Though, I mean, I say likes to, but they've done it in Stage 4 already on this map. Defensively, San Francisco has opted for Widow and Junkrat previously, but it was with a Reinhardt and Zarya and Brigitte before. So they're going to try something a little bit different. This seems to be the new evolving meta where you try to have people hold high ground up here. Maybe your Widow can get some free shots and then force them to dive on it. See how well it works against a Pharah. A lot of this is going to be how good is Sinatra's Widow if he's the one who sticks on this. And I mean, he's already super out of spawn, so that's going to be the case.
Listen, everybody loves ponies, Hex. You know, and well, no Anubis, fair enough. Fine, we'll just bring the Shetland pony over here to Blizz World. Get that high horse going.
San Francisco definitely getting on the high horse. Super, you know, it's just hard to not, you know, see a roller coaster and just not hop on it for a bit.
Seriously, everybody wants to enjoy that ride. It's an eagle.
Yeah. So Nevix goes up super high early just to get scouting on. The interesting positioning here is that Sleepy is all alone in the back, generally where you would see a Widow and things like that. Wakid notices what they're running is going to go back to spawn. He's going to switch to the Tracer instead.
So getting into that, the dive, quasi-dive perhaps. I mean, Fleta still hanging out on the Widow for now. He's out on a flanking mission though, so he's not really able to change up even if he wanted to. So it will be Wakid on the side. Spots out the junk trap, no problem there. Gonna go ahead and start trying to draw the attention from San Francisco Shock over to himself, allowing for Seoul Dynasty perhaps to find a window of opportunity to get in here. And sure enough, they go diving in. As soon as Wakid shows himself, there it is, the chance. But Jaehong is getting melted, and he has to throw himself back out of line of sight. They're
trying to create chaos just so that Fleta has a shot. He hasn't really had anyone to even shoot at behind this shield. They will get them off of the point up top. Maybe now Fleta can go to work, but early on, Wakid is picked by Sleepy. Yeah, that's a big kill here from Sleepy. Now all the DPS falling squarely on Fleta's shoulders. Looking for the follow-up, will get it. Nevix body shot, and he's out of it. So now perhaps you can get that line of sight straight into the back onto that balcony. Start putting a little bit more pressure here on San Francisco Shock as Jaehong goes in bodily, throws himself in to the point. And Architect kind of caught, pinned, nowhere to go. Wakid claims that kill, but Jaehong definitely helping out. And Jaehong gets the primal off. Nick of time. He was about to go down, and that's gonna be the follow-up on Moth. Seoul Dynasty
all things told, a very clean take here on the A point.
Well, neither Architect or Super were able to retreat when the dive came in up top. The dive came in on both supports and Sinatra, who were sitting up top. They got pushed all the way back by both of the dive tanks from Seoul Dynasty and the adjustment they made. And then when those got cut off by the Primal Rage, everyone else cleaned up the 2 remainders on the point. And this is where you really saw Widows and Tracers run wild here.
All the flanks, all the angles, and well, a tire thrown in as well for good measure. All the way over the top as well, instantly picked off by Fleta. Quick reactions there. I mean, you gotta wake up early to catch Fleta off guard.
I think Fleta, for all intents and purposes, is still the best flex DPS in the entire thing. He plays everything at a super high level. Like, if you're gonna start a team with a flex DPS, I think you start at Fleta. Maybe Libero's close, but I think Fleta's a little bit better.
Yeah, it's definitely shown for Seoul Dynasty. Well, we've just passed the 4-minute mark here for Seoul Dynasty, making progress towards that second point. Still need to get around the pylon terrace. This is where we can potentially see them get slowed down, although San Francisco Shock have got a long run back into this fight, still regrouping.
A little bit interesting that they chose to run the Pharah into this when they didn't want to run it into first point, but it's kind of a point where there's going to be less of an Orisa threat or less of a main shield up. You can start to catch people out, and what you're hoping for is that Fleta can win the Widow battle immediately against Architect, and then you're just going to raid net.
Self-destruct thrown in, not going to find anybody. Fresh mech though, and that'll be nice. Zumba is back into the fight. And Sinatra in the meantime, he's found Fleta, removes him, but in the meantime, I mean, still, you still have Fleta finding Sleepy. Super is gone as well. Kills here for San Francisco Shock, and that's not going to help things.
They force out the Transcendence, but that Pulse Bomb didn't find a whole lot either. Running over Moth might help them out enough, but now the trade's coming as Architect finds himself the entire Pharmacy combo. The Fair and Mercy both down.
Once again, Architect. Just the show right now.
Yeah, he took them off of Pharah. Once simply by being in existence, actually, you know, on first point, and then he just pops the Pharah, and you can't run it into that anymore when you're getting shot like that. At this high a level, you can't really assume they're gonna miss shots.
No. No, that's why Mercies have a heart attack every time they have to go out into the open. Just, please! Just trying to dart all over the place like a moth. I mean, because these Widows, they don't miss on that. That's why we see so many Widows, but I'm happy about that. More sniper play. More of the burst deeps.
I mean, it's 52% scoped accuracy for Fleta. Only 11% of that have been headshots. On the other side of things, 69% scoped accuracy, 18 critical percent from Architect. So it's definitely doing a little bit better on the Widow. There it is again. Gets Guido.
Now Toby will be able to get the res. Sinatra, unfortunately, not able to get into position to punish that. So the fight could continue. Another self-destruct thrown in here by Zumba. Looking for a target, not gonna find it. Trance is thrown into the mix though from San Francisco. That's Sleepy trying to keep his boys alive as the fight continues. And from on high, it is Architect looking for the shot. Stick is going to get eaten though. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, a little bit of a odd interaction there, as it did say stuck on the screen, didn't actually go through, and now the swing back comes in as Architect and Super fall. Architect not resurrected, it's used on Super, then Sleepy goes down as well. Huge advantage right now for Seoul.
Just need to trim this up right now. San Francisco, they had a much smoother path, a lot more time in the bank. Right now, Seoul Dynasty, they're closing in on a minute left to get that second point cap, and then they can still get stalled out a whole lot on that third. So Seoul right now, the ones who need to make the plays, and while throwing themselves into it, San Francisco Shock now deciding this is the time to take the fight. The Discord on Super though, he is getting melted.
Yeah, and because of where this point is now, that self-destruct will end up taking out Super. He was unable to jump into that pylon terrace, unable to construct those additional pylons, and now they've lost Nevix as well. No tanks in the mix means that Fleta would have free reign. Everyone else gonna try to back out with their lives. 2:13 left on the map.
So let's say 2 minutes and counting. Fleta, there's the shot, and Jaehong with the follow-up. Good work there between the two. It's going to be enough time, however, for Architect to get back in the fight. Not the end of days here yet for San Francisco. But they are on the defense, and they are setting themselves up here to take the fight to Seoul Dynasty, who are still getting that payload to slowly move along the tracks.
Just got to get around the bend here. They have plenty of time to work with. Loki Tracer battle in the background, but then Sleepy's able to take down Fleta. I like that Wakid he's checking Sinatra, then going to the front to look for damage, and then checking Sinatra and going to the front.
Yeah, this is going to be it though. Super might have cut himself off, might have taken a bit too much. Cutting yourself off from your healers. Nevix is there, and that will allow for the res. Yep, sure enough, Super brought back into the fight. Good play there from Nevix, making sure that Moth could get in position for that. And while Seoul Dynasty now, we're getting to that minute mark and no real chance to add any more to that, and so they have to get the job done soon. Wakid has swapped over now. We're going to have the Brigitte back into the fight.
It's the time to make a swap if you think that you're going to do enough damage to get a rally in place. It's just over a minute. Generally, I think of it as like 90 seconds to a 2-minute warning. Get that guarantee that you're going to get an ult on nearly any hero, but if Wakid plays very aggressive, which they can do with both of these support ultimates, then you can follow it up with a rally, which, you know, is still a support ultimate.
That was a nice shot on Toby. That rung his bell. Still, Fleta will be the one to start things off. Sinatra gone. Slowing things down. Self-destruct. The shield is there for Wakid. And, well, he is definitely getting shot at, but he will be able to back off there to support and back his teammates up, but it's not quick enough. Super finding both kills on the supports for Seoul Dynasty. Neither of those ults getting used. Toby only just now coming back online, and he's got to fly his way back into this fight.
He rallied instantly, and it was kind of a solo rally right there. Not a whole lot of people staying around him long enough to get the benefit of that armor. Sinatra's able to push Fleta out as well. You hear the music, 8 seconds left. They might not even get here to touch. Zuma's gonna try to get in. They're gonna zoom Yada him in. They are going to get near enough to the cart, just maybe. It's desperation time.
They've cut him in half here, but as I say that, Nevix finds the kill on Toby. Sleepy gets traded, but right now, things are looking up for San Francisco Shock. Both Toby and Guido dead. And San Francisco Shock have set themselves up now to close it out here on Seoul Dynasty, who are definitely not looking like they're going to be able to get back in here in time. Overtime, Wick burnt down to a crisp. And San Francisco Shock pick up the first map versus the Seoul Dynasty on Blizzard World.
There's a solid defense there towards the end, especially to hold that front door. Make them go through you to get that card. Don't let them just get there for free, because you never know what happens when they actually get there, and there's an extra source of healing with that payload.
Yeah, there is so much going on now with Brigitte added into the mix. We're taking a break, and when we come back, we'll have map 2 of the series between the San Francisco Shock and Seoul Dynasty.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Seoul striking first in this climactic battle here, but it's still more kills for San Francisco Shock.
We still have Toby in the fight.
Baby Bay on fire.
Transcendence from Jaehong.
Danta, though.
Unbelievable. How does that happen?
How clutch is that?
All right, welcome back from the break, everybody. We got Horizon Lunar Colony coming up next between the San Francisco Shock and the Seoul Dynasty. San Francisco Shock up 1-0 in this series so far, and they looked pretty good on Blizz World.
It was close, but it was important for them to win that map because they're really bad at Horizon Lunar Colony. Seoul's had their struggles on it as well, but I believe that San Francisco has yet to win Horizon Lunar Colony, a whole 0-6. And I don't think they took a first point. I can't recall exactly when they played it last. They tried to run full dive into it, and it did not work very well. Seoul also runs full dive into Horizon, if we ever get there.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at something else, which is the Winstons on Blizzard World. It's the tanks. We have a stat card, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. Jaehong and Super. So, well, Jaehong, I mean, he's hanging in there. He's hanging in there versus Super. I mean, Super, main tank, all that jazz. Jaehong just capable of doing everything, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all that one-sided. Super, of course, leading in most of those stats, especially eliminations and jump pack kills, which are a lot of just the mechanics of Super, well, practicing a whole lot on that Winston. But it's important that Jaehong didn't die that much. Like, one of the last things you want to do as a Winston is die, because then you're not able to drop bubbles to create space, to at least present the ever-looming threat to a Widow in the back or somewhere and be part of that team. So it's important that at least he's not dying, and it's not like he got super outstatted.
Well, is it the Jaehong, or is that going to be, you know, the Toby Guido combination of just keeping this man alive? Excellent healing on Seoul Dynasty. Can we go that angle?
Yeah, it's very possible, but I also like that, you know, because he's playing aggressive and then backing out. So, I mean, it's just a matter of him learning the mechanics. The mechanics of Winston are actually kind of ridiculously hard. Landing jump packs and then getting primal rage kills is not as easy as it looks. Munchkin's going to come in for Wakid. As I mentioned, Seoul likes to run the full dive on this, which would be a Widow and a Genji. Maybe Floodо will run that. So we'll see what they want to run. On defense, they like to do a Junkrat and a Tracer. So that's why Wakid is, or that's why Munchkin is back in. But we'll see, because I think that they're prioritizing their dive offense more than they are their defense, because if he can't get the first point, what's the defense really?
No, exactly right. I mean, bring in your Tracer Specialist. The desk have been vindicated. They put so much time and effort into preparing that talk about how Munchkin was a potential star for Seoul Dynasty, and they were let down. They were let down. It was Wakid in the first map. Now at least they get to, you know, they get to look at their boy Munchkin.
Yeah, Munchkin's Tracer was actually very effective last time Seoul played too. So they have a ton of talent on this team. It's just been about assembling it in the correct order for Seoul. We'll see what teams want to run here. As San Francisco taking the first map. I told you, like, you know, we're during break, I'm like, we're going into the half tide. So that's my, I don't make a ton of predictions, but we're going into the half 1-1 would be my prediction. But Seoul did not look great against the Valiant on this map either. So really anything can happen, but San Francisco just looked all out of sorts in their dive and got really shut down by it.
Well, I'm glad that you were straight up about it, Hex, and now we have it on record, right? You know, predictions, you can say it all the time, but unless it's on Twitter or unless it's on record on stream, sorry, boy, doesn't count. So here we go. At least we have it now. Seoul Dynasty tying it up 1-1. Prediction from Hex. Let's see if it comes true.
Well, I mean, I'd probably just cast a curse myself. I mean, I've been cursing everyone else all day, so why not?
Fantastic job. Your game has been on point today. But, oh, well, you know, a little bit of a peek there with the Reflect. Fleta, not going to be happy about that one. And there it is.
Oh.
That is the combo.
That's so cool.
I love it.
I mean, the Halt is such a cool ability. It's that mini grab. If you can set it up with nearly anything else, you're almost guaranteed a kill. They're out in the open. You know where they're going to be. Sinatra's doing a good job. He's pressuring the back point again, almost reminiscent of Blizzard World.
That was like an afterthought. It was like, wait, there's a diva, but let me just casually kill this other guy real quick. Sleepy, you're dead. And the body shot as well. Not going to find the head there, unfortunately. Moth breathes a sigh of relief.
Zuma's back here just looking for Sinatra because he knows that he didn't get out yet. We, of course, can see the wireframe, but Zuma seems to be pretty locked in on him. Says, hello, old blue eyes.
get back in here, and that's exactly it. Now, however, Zumba is going to be able to put a little bit of help into this main fight, but this is his main role here, just denying Sinatra the ability to get the back cap going. And, well, just let Fleta and Munchkin go to work in the meantime. It's fine. Working out.
Yeah, Architect really struggled on this map, and he continues to do so right now. His Genji can be very good at times, but for whatever reason, San Francisco has simply not figured out the proper place to dive. And dive can be very difficult when a team has this nice spread right here. You're going to dive up top into a Junkrat Widow, you try to put pressure on the back points, and it doesn't matter. It's just such a big map, and then when you're not missing shots like this, hey, what do you do?
See, Fleta, he does hit his targets. He doesn't need a good spread. So it is going to be Fleta. I mean, look at this. He gets run down by Super. There's a kill to start things off for San Francisco Shock. And Sinatra following it up as well. It's all coming together here, Hex. The counter curse is perfect, dude. We're going to figure this out. Don't worry.
Well, the area build bring Munchkin back, though, and that's really important for being able to hold this second point. And here comes the Tire. It's one of the reasons they brought him back, and Architect will go down yet again. I guess it's only 2 deaths, but they seemed like they were very impactful. Okay, Moth is going to bring him back to life as the brawl on the point continues.
Just chuck grenades in here. Cross your fingers. Hope you can hit some targets with them, and maybe you will get rewarded. Jaehong will find the kill on Architect. Only a tick of progress made for San Francisco Shock so far. And yet the fight continues. A long brawl here. Sleepy even deciding to get the trance into it as well, just trying to keep people alive. But this supercharger allowing him to just mop up right now. Jaehong melting him.
Both supports are down though, so all this damage is mostly permanent, and that's why you're able to pick people off like this if you're San Francisco. Self-destruct comes in and gets Sleepy. It's just a matter of getting the reinforcements back, but on defense it can be so difficult to do that. It's a long walk, and they are going to push them all the way through, and San Francisco will cap this. Now going into this next point, they're going to have self-destruct, can be very good on this point. Not a whole lot of places to hide. A lot of the fighting happens on the point, on second point of Horizon Lunar Colony, and then you've got the Architect Blade.
Yeah, you have the Blade, and that is the fight ender, the game changer, the straight winner. Gonna have to see though. I mean, it shows himself for a moment. Again, Fleta just doesn't miss. I mean, they weren't headshots. Okay, fair enough for all those sticklers out there. But still, 2 body shots on Architect. Just letting them know. Just letting them know that Fleta is still definitely alive. Definitely. Well, never mind. Sinatra finds him, and that's gonna be it. This is when Architect feels like it's time to go, hashing them all to bits.
It's just beyond words what this man can do with Blade sometimes. That's ridiculous. I believe ends up with 4 total kills, and it's the Architect Blade cutting the house down.
When did I start casting with Prophet Crumbs? It's like you just saw it coming, Hex, in your crystal ball. Architect is going to dismember the entire team with his Blade.
Yeah, and I also said San Francisco was terrible at this map, so, you know.
There we go. Can't win them all, Hex. You get some, you lose some. It's life. It's just the way it works. 4 minutes in the bank for San Francisco Shock. Everything coming together, and everybody, yes, rightfully looking at Architect. Thank you, Architect, for delivering that B point to us, man. Great job. You know, keep that up.
I mean, a lot of that is also Sinatra being able to take down Fleta in the back line, getting there and then taking out that main threat. And Fleta had been killing Architect several times. That's 1 total kill, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
That's a just those stats, you know.
D-Max the Diva kills Baby Diva. He's like, oh, I still have like 5 seconds on this. 3 more.
This guy believes in lots of padding. You know, no thin mattress for him. Just padding stats all day.
It's been such a boon to them too, and I really think it bodes well for you to be able to run your Tracer and your Genji from the same person, to make those switches pretty consistently. Do I have a better matchup if I run Widow here versus the other Widow? And sometimes that favors an offense or a defense and the angles, and I think defensively on Horizon Lunar Colony, the Widow's just always has a better spot. And so you just run the Genji into it. And you don't even have to bother Sinatra's. But yeah, Sinatra, play what you're known for. Unfortunately, that's not Zarya. Hopefully we'll see that at some point in the future. But it'd be fun. Yeah, Sinatra's Tracer, completely fine. So, see here. This looks like the defense that they would like to run. This, I mean, a lot of this stuff is starting to become kind of standardized. That shield not super effective right now, but very entertaining nonetheless. You know, you can throw gravitons onto those things, and it sucks people up and they start spinning around like nuts. It's super hard to hit them afterwards, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, I saw one where Blizzard came out and somebody chucked it on the shark and just launched 5 torbs into it. You know, that was fun. Oh, there we go. Sinatra. just throwing grenades, and that Tracer happened to be crossing in the path of one of them.
Hear the distant scream of a Tracer.
All right, music to his ears, that's for sure. Sinatra going to be feeling good about that. And that'll slow things down just a little bit here for Seoul. It's obviously the very beginning of this push, and so they can afford to take their time. Munchkin on Tracer will be able to get into the fight fairly quickly. Guido on the Sombra as well, and while there is going to be quite a bit to work with here for Seoul Dynasty, I mean, the Tracer and the Sombra and the Genji? Okay then.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because the Sombra has been used on this map several times before, and that actually ended up giving the Shock a lot of problems, so they ended up having to run a McCree. So see if that happens again, but it's not going to matter when Sinatra's playing like he is. Both tanks out of it for Seoul at the moment.
Yeah, excellent work there from Sinatra. The hack comes through, but Nevic's not going to care. It's a little bit late in the game and late in the push here for Guido. Although Guido is trying exactly just to work up to that EMP as quickly as possible. He's got 60% and counting now, and that will be a big game changer when it comes to the next fight. As far as San Francisco are concerned, things are looking up.
You'd love to be able to time both the EMP and Blade to come up at the same time, because it can be such a powerful combo without abilities to get away from the Blade that Fleta should be able to mop it up, but already it's higher for Sinatra too. Architect is going to give him the infra sight as well, so if he sees a moment in which supports maybe stray too far away from the rest of their team, that's when he's going to let it rip.
You can see Sinatra right now just continues to make life interesting for Seoul Dynasty. Seoul, always a fan of a challenge. Nothing is, difficult, right? It's interesting. Just, variety. Where are the nades going to go next? Which corner do I have to worry about crossing now?
Well, they've got Munchkin and Guido in the back line now, so that's going to get a lot of, at least a couple of people back onto the point to try to deal with it. You can't just send one back there because I never can deal with it by himself. Sinatra finds his moment, though, and finds Jaehong.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's a nice kill. Seoul Dynasty not going to be able to get the res off on him, so they're going to have to wait for Jaehong to res up the old-fashioned way. Architect, though, got to be careful. Munchkin will definitely hit him alive if he's left alone to his own devices.
So, one of the struggles that Seoul has had on this map is that Jaehong does not necessarily know where to dive on it sometimes. He doesn't seem to know where to go. Again, he's new to the Winston. It kind of throws him off a bit, but this is a huge fight. A lot of ults committed.
That was a big EMP as well, and yet somehow they are surviving. Fleta, the only casualty so far here for the Seoul Dynasty, and that's not exactly what they were hoping for. They were definitely hoping to be able to capitalize a little bit more. San Francisco, excellent work so far. This push not really coming to much here for Seoul Dynasty, just a whole bunch of dead people. Sinatra, another 2 kills.
Sinatra's had a great map so far. 18 eliminations, 10 final blows, only a single death. He's been pumping out damage on both the Tracer and the Junkrat. His Junkrat has looked so good so far.
And in terms of ults used now for Seoul Dynasty, it's looking grim. Don't have the trance. Support ults, not a whole lot to work with. And while this was just Sinatra, right place, right time, great flank from him. But now it is going to be the Hail Mary kind of push coming in for Seoul Dynasty. They've got 30 seconds left to pick up this A point. That isn't going to kill him straight up in the vacuum, but soon enough, as Fleta finally finds his opportunity, goes in with the Blade, finds the 1 kill, looks for the fall, gets it on Moth. And here we go, Seoul Dynasty might be able to eke out the win here at the very end.
Oh, and one good Genji play deserves another. Fleta sees what Architect had done to them in the previous half of this map, and he has a monstrous performance. They will eventually cap this. 4 minutes left. They've already got a slower time, though.
Yeah, less time in the bank as it goes, but Seoul Dynasty will get the second crack at it. And well, as far as that fight panning out, they couldn't have hoped for better. And yeah, Fleta, game, Genji's just game enders. No fun allowed as far as they're concerned.
Interesting, Moth goes over to the Ana. He's been one to play the Ana before, so it's a decent map for it. See where he's set up. Yeah, he's set up in the back corner. It's something that you used to see a lot actually on Hanamura last, where you have a Zenyatta on one side and an Ana on the other, and neither of them really leave the safety of spawn. They're both lurking around those doors, of course. They have distance healing, so they're going to try to keep themselves safe as well.
Make them tougher targets to pick. Munchkin already forced to use his recall, dropping dangerously low. Will get brought back to life here by Toby. Solid work. Munchkin just looking to try and find some kind of opening here on the point. D-Matrix eats up that pulse. No joy there for the Munchkin. And, well, the self-destruct not going to find any targets, but they are having to back out. Guido gets caught in the meantime, and that is going to be him with no trance for this fight on Seoul Dynasty's side. 2 minutes 50 on the clock. Architect with the parting shot on Munchkin as well.
I mean, Sinatra and Super were bench buddies for a while. That neither of them could play. They became very good friends, and if you look at the stats, it's clearly them working together. 21-11 is Sinatra's stats, 18-5 for Super. Both only 2 deaths. It's the initiation and the follow-up, and it's been very impressive.
Hammer and Anvil just working together to create perfection for San Francisco Shock, or at least that's the end game. That's the goal. We are looking at a much stronger San Francisco Shock now that things are starting to come together with the roster. Sinatra, yep, gonna get the spot here on Munchkin, just letting them know. And well, Seoul Dynasty now approaching 2 minutes on the clock. One good push, though, could make all the difference.
We talked in Blizzard World and we looked at the Winston stat cards about how they were pretty even, and most importantly, they were even in deaths. But right now, Jaehong leads the server in deaths at 7. And right behind him is his Tracer counterpart in Munchkin.
Listen, oh, there we go. Super in position. Not going to allow the res to go off. Cooldown used for Toby. And well, right now it's just Super in the thick of things. They aren't even really focusing him down. He's just hanging in there forever. Super just now finally backing off, but Seoul Dynasty, a lot of valuable time lost.
They lost Sinatra in there, but he should be able to get back to this point before the next push really happens. Fleta's been surprisingly quiet on this Widow towards last.
Hasn't quite been finding the value. The Imposite is online, though, so Seoul Dynasty can now see through walls. That might benefit. That might help. Yep, a nice stick there as well, but Nevix diving back into the trance set up by Sleepy will avoid getting demeched. Architect finds the kill on Guido. And Seoul Dynasty, yet again, it's on Toby here. He's got the Val coming online soon, but Architect continues to find shots. Moth, oh, no sleep off cooldown.
Nice. Keep everyone alive, though, which is just as important as meanwhile Toby gets pushed out, and it is the last push, very rightly so, for Seoul coming in. As we're below 50 seconds. They will have both support ultimates as long as the Valkyrie keeps Guido alive, but you got to be very careful of the sight lines because Architect could just ruin this push right now.
And he's definitely looking. Spots out Fleta as well. D-Matrix is there to try and cover Fleta and try to cover them as they get across that open doorway. Guido taking a body shot there. Bit of damage to the paintwork. They will be able to manage to set up here Seoul Dynasty now. You can see Moth, he just wants to be the man to get that, that fight going. He's got the boost. Pretty clear who his target is at this point. Yep, Super just goes charging in, looking for the chain damage all over the place. He's become a much more difficult gorilla to kill. Taking full advantage of it right now.
And this should get him to Primal. It's one of the big reasons that you use this on your main tanks. There's a Primal immediately.
Oh no, Fleta Pid. Toby having to come back over here to pocket. Fleta means that he's not healing the rest of the team as they push in. But Munchkin finding the kill on Architect could turn things around here. Seoul Dynasty nimbly dodging the self-destruct as well. No value there. And is this the moment now in overtime? Can they finally make some progress? One tick nearly picked up as the contest is there for Seoul Dynasty. All the kills as well. Even Architect going over to the Dome Fist gets the value. And San Francisco Shock will lead the series 2-0 and will finally break their losing streak on Lunar Colony.
And this is what you were waiting for if you were the San Francisco Shock. Of course, Architect has been a huge addition. 28 limbs for Sinatra, 26 for Super. They were Bash Brothers there, and they absolutely crushed it.
Oh, we're going to hear from the desk what they have to say after the break, coming up after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.
Oh, are you
ready to go to lunch? Yeah, dude, let's do it.
Right, but you're riding in the back seat?
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's pretty spacious back here.
Well, sure, but there's plenty of space up front.
Yeah, no, that is true.
So, sit up here?
No, I'm good, bro.
You're good. I'm not good with this entire situation. It's like I'm your chauffeur.
A friend who's going to take his other friend to lunch while they both enjoy the wonderful spaciousness of this vehicle.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, if you don't get us there quickly, by the way, you're not getting 5 stars.
Sir, yes, sir. Right away, sir. Breathmint?
Don't talk to me.
Designed and focused around you. The Toyota CHR. Toyota, let's go places.
The Orange Ninja is on the loose. Architect and the Shock up 2-0 at the half. Very impressive stuff coming in from the man Brent said we should watch today.
I did. The Oracle again, making predictions and they come correct. I said we should watch this guy. You know, it's been turning out pretty well. He's been a huge reason as to why the Shock have been winning today. Johnny's not impressed. He's not pleased at all.
Oh, I wish I could predict superstars to perform every game.
I know, it's hard life being me, but you know, you just live through it.
Yeah.
You talked about tanks instead though, Johnny. You kind of missed your
But there's
opportunity.
no Reinhardt.
Where's
the Reinhardt?
Let's start things off here as we continue to make Bren look good on the desk. Let's talk a little bit about Fleta, right? Blizzard World, this guy's gonna rip face?
Yeah, that was what we wanted to see anyway, but so far I think that San Francisco Shock looked way better than they did earlier this week on this map. Yeah, and Seoul Dynasty, they struggle a bit with their picks. Wikid came in on the Junkrat, and of course that's his hero. Brigitte, he couldn't really make it happen. Still, you know, a reasonable push onto point C. And I think that San Francisco Shock with this dive, they synced up a lot better than they have previously this week, and they looked a lot better overall.
Brenton, can we officially say now after watching this that you can still run Tracer, Genji, and dive?
You absolutely can, Pug it. If you can run it well, and you can make it work if you have, you know, the skill behind it, you know, the real consistency. I actually feel like a big part of Shock's success is the fact that they have committed to a composition, whereas before they were swapping to Brigitte comps, it was half and half. They never really committed to one side or the other, but this time, Shock look like they are on a mission here, and a mission to win at that. And it is really fantastic to see. Again, we keep mentioning Architect. We've got even more plays coming up after this, but he was really quite imperative in them getting these wins today.
And it's funny, right? Because San Francisco were so poor on Horizon Lunar Corner. They were by far
the first time they won the Horizon Lunar Corner.
Yeah, and today they looked so good on it, and finally it seems like things are working. Seoul Dynasty on their hand, they were so close to getting first point held again on this map after this being one of their best maps. So, you know, it's San Francisco up
and nutty stuff coming in from Fleta as well. I mean, the boys shouldn't have to try that hard. Seoul Dynasty, this is a squad that looks so good. They had so much hype around them. They're still pretty high in the overall leaderboard. But I feel like this team still has so many issues to work through. What are the biggest issues that you've seen so far in the first half?
Well, the biggest issues, perhaps not the biggest issue, but one of the issues was that Fleta wasn't just performing as good as he usually does on the Widowmaker. And we can make a quick comparison to his Widowmaker play earlier this week versus the Valiant. His solo kills and final blows on Blizzard World were off the charts. But I came up with a brilliant graphic, 900 IQ.
Nice graphic.
Compare them versus the Shock, and it's quite obvious the stats speak for themselves. He just didn't show up as good versus the Blizzard World. Do you want to give credit for the Shock for avoiding and playing around the Widowmaker, or do you want to perhaps harp on Fleta for not performing as well? Obviously, they came away with the victory on Blizzard World versus Valiant, so you have nicer stats when you have a win. But the solo kills, 7 versus today's 1 per 10 minutes. I mean, it's quite obvious Fleta wasn't having the best
I think it was the Shock just running heroes with tinier hitboxes, and one of them was Architect.
Well, maybe you should have a Brigitte to shut them down.
Talk me through this, man. What has Architect brought to the Shock? What is he showing off today?
And like we said, they need a star player to build around. Every team, it feels like, needs a star player to really set the pace of the game, and Architect is the man for Shock, and boy, oh boy, he did not disappoint in the slightest. This is a guy who came into the team. He was a little bit, you know, inconsistent at the start of his debut in Stage 3, but now he's settled in a bit. You know, the team knows him, they know how to work around him, enable him, and now he has been performing so well.
I have to disagree with you on some level, because I think that Seoul Dynasty got, or San Francisco Shock got away with murder with this one. I don't think that Wikid on Brigitte performed well at all, and Seoul Dynasty, they looked dysfunctional, they didn't peel for each other. Wikid was all over the place in the back line, in the front line, and they didn't have a solid plan to shut down the dives of San Francisco Shock. So I was not pleased at all with Wikid on the map 1.
I like Johnny's anger today. Johnny, Seoul still has a second half. They can bring this back, but they need
it's over.
They
San Francisco are winning.
Whoa, Johnny, calm yourself. Listen, what happened to you? Normally it's me to say this kind of stuff.
I'm just doing my job.
Johnny's just calling.
Hey, they've still got a chance. There's still 2 more maps to be played.
Architect, by the way, Architect is so good.
Brent, can we get you to do it then? How does Seoul bring this back in the second half? Because Clearly, they need to figure out who are they running. Is it going to be Munchkin? Is it going to be Wicked? And what roles do you want to see from them?
So, I mean, I think Munchkin is probably what you want to be sticking with here. The issues I've been seeing from Seoul is general communication. They seem to not be able to focus down the right targets at times. This is the general sort of overlapping theme, and it's a bit unusual. I wonder if a large part of this is because Toby is playing in place of Gambler. It could be because of the shot calling, right? The shot calling. I wonder if this is affecting this. So they just need to get, you know, the house in order a little bit and really just sort of nail down the fundamentals to have a good chance here, because Shock aren't doing anything fancy. They're just playing solid dive compositions and playing it well.
Johnny, to close out halftime, let's talk about the Shock. This is, of course, the inaugural season of the Overwatch League. This is a squad that is improving. What more do you want to see in the second half for the squad? What should the fans be excited about?
I honestly just want to see more and better dives coming up for them. They've acquired Krusty from the Boston Uprising, and we saw what the Boston Uprising did with their dives. They were so flawless and brilliant, especially throughout Stage 3. So I want to see more dives coming out. It's obvious that Krusty knows what he's doing on the coaching role, and I think it's just going to be better from here.
Krusty's impact already being felt. The Shock up 2-0 at the half. They'll try and close it out with a win. Oasis, game number 3, is coming up when we return. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Sour Patch Kids. Sour, sweet, gone.
Welcome back, boys and girls. The San Francisco Shock currently hold the 2-0 lead over the Seoul Dynasty. And I gotta say, I'm not too surprised by how this match is playing out, because the bravado the San Francisco Shock had backstage when I ran into them, they said they were gonna wreck Shock, and they're doing just that. Now, a friendly reminder to all you Twitch All Access users that tonight's AMA is with your favorite main tank. I guess he's kind of a main tank now, Ryu Jae Hong, or excuse me, Ryu Jae Kong. He will be doing the AMA tonight, so you can ask him if he prefers to play Winston or if he misses Sleep Dart and Fools with Ana. You can ask him all that when the matches wrap up tonight. Anyways, it is match point San Francisco Shock. Can the Seoul Dynasty push this thing all the way back to a Game 5? Let's find out right now and send it back over to our casters, Simler and Hex.
You know, Malik, thank you, because now it's back in my head again. We have to find a way to say Jae-Hong and Rissa, right? Ryu, Jorissa? No, that's no good. How are we going to do this, Hex?
We had like 5 minutes to figure this out, and you're just bringing it up now.
Occurred to me again, I was, you know, in the action of the match, just goes away. But
right. Well,
Malik.
I got nothing. Send us your tweets. And so we always bail out. Whenever you can think of something, you just be like, hey, tweet it at me.
Hey, or Malik, you know. But hey, guys, we got subs, and not the sandwiches. Instead, it's going to be Wakid. Wakid will be back and subbing in for the Munchkin. So a bit of a tag team duo going on here right now for Seoul Dynasty. Wakid, though, we'll see if he's going to be, you know, wake up, man. There's a match on the line here, and you guys need to run it back because you are currently down 0-2 to the San Francisco Shock.
The sub makes perfect sense as we head into Oasis, which has always been a Pharah map. It's going to be interesting to see what teams do to try to counter that, or if you just run a Pharah and hope that your Pharah is better.
Right, yeah, Pharah v Pharah battle, the Air Force One, Strike One.
Top Gun.
Top Gun, pretty much. References abound. And, well, we'll see if who's going to stall out and have to bail.
And if the Pharahs and Pharahs tie, then we're going to settle it with a beach volleyball match.
That's, yes! Amazing. Definitely. I mean, we're at Oasis. Of course, there's going to be sun. There's got to be a beach around here somewhere.
I mean, it's an oasis, right? So we'll see how it goes, but that is going to be the composition. They're going to run a Pharah and a Pharah, both sides. Fleta, though, is on the Widow, and Fleta takes out Architect easily. 3
body shots. I mean, hey, if you're just not going to miss, that works out fine, too. Well, definitely not what San Francisco we're looking for there.
Some people would count those as 3 misses, but I'm not elitist. A shot's a shot.
Listen, you get the kill. That's, you know, doesn't matter how. Doesn't have to be pretty, but he got the kill. And that could set it up here for Seoul Dynasty, to get first control of this point. So excellent start here for Seoul Dynasty, who are currently trailing 0-2 in maps. So they're still battling to stay alive in this series. They need Oasis. Gotta find it. You know, that one win. Like an oasis in the desert. They happen to be on an oasis. We'll see how all this pans out. Will he keep going, you wonder? No, I will not. I am stopping, just like Architect to stop Wakid.
Well, that's what's going to happen. They have to put pressure on the ground with Sinatra and force the healing to come to the ground so that they can actually deal with Wakid in the sky, but it does not matter as the kills come in, the resurrections come in, sent back to spawn is San Francisco.
And Fleta is just shouting right now that the only system he's a part of is his, because he only gets kills. And like always here for Seoul Dynasty, when things go south, they can count on Fleta to at least keep them competitive.
All right, Architect is going to switch to the Widow now. And now they don't have a Pharah, because Sinatra's staying on the Tracer. You know, I don't recall really seeing a ton of Sinatra Tracer. I watched most of this guy's entire career, so I'm not sure how comfortable he is on that. But Architect's already going to step into the fray and had a nice headshot onto Guido.
Yeah, that'll slow things down a little bit here. That'll definitely throw things out of whack, perhaps, for Seoul Dynasty. Never mind, Toby brings it back to life, but that's the res used. Well, you can see from Wakid's perspective, eye in the sky right now, he's just chucking rockets in, and well, we'll see if he eventually does get that barrage. Get the parting shot there on Super. And while that is without a main tank and not in a resable position either, that's going to make things a little bit sketch here for San Francisco Shock. Although if they keep getting kills, it'll look up.
Yeah, completely fine there. They eventually steamroll through that point, and a lot of the pressure that you're going to need to put on Wakid should he stay on this has to come from Nevix. Yes, Architect can try to deal with it, but every time Architect is looking for the Pharah in the sky, he's not looking for Fleta. And Fleta is going to punish that every single time and try to take those Widow duels. So he can play in a very safe position and try to deal with the Pharah, but then Fleta's picking the other team apart. There's a lot of like mini games happening right now.
It's always games within games. Players reading each other, scrimming against each other, playing competitive against each other, and then it's just layers up. Who's going to pull ahead, though? And that is going to be the question, as Sinatra. I mean, he's just watching if Zumba is going to make up his mind eventually, and yeah, Zumba decides, hey, time to back out. Although Jae-Hong, I guess he missed that memo. He's in here with the Primal.
He's going to try to get in there and punch people about. He does go down, though, from Nevix, as foretold. And now they're going to have to use Transcendence onto the point as well. Seoul has thrown some ultimates into this, just now finding some value, at least that they're able to get the Resurrection off.
Yeah, thanks to the Trans. Now, I mean, Guido still falls, but Wikid is there, bringing it back. Wikid eventually picked out of the sky. Nevix right now is just a one-man wrecking crew. He's just rolling through, getting kill after kill for San Francisco. And they're up to 63% and counting right now, Hex. They are nearly closing the gap and tying it up.
And a lot of teams that opt to not run what are considered more pure Pharah counters, your McCrees, or, you know, I mean, like, you can run the Widow and the Widow's fine, or just your own Pharah, will rely almost solely on that D.Va to deal with it. And this is a great map to actually use a self-destruct to try to deal with it if you can. Because if the combo is hanging out over the far side, which a lot of combos haven't been, there's almost no escape for them, and you will get both of them with a self-destruct.
Always the chance for that feel-good moment. Well, not for Zumba so much. He's got a ways to go to get that self-destruct online. They don't have a whole lot of time, though, Seoul Dynasty. San Francisco Shock about to get on 99%, and there will be the contest here. That is Zumba just poking forward. He will get backed up here by Toby, who decides to get the wings out. Zumba, though, on the edge, gets D-Mech. That's not going to help things here for Seoul. Sinatra with the pulse as well, decides to get it in there, right in the mix. No way out for Wikid.
That pulse had to hit too. They lost Moth during this fight, and that means that they're going to be down their own Resurrection. Sinatra's going to try to keep going to town, though, as they are at 99%. They can afford to maybe lose this fight. That's a nice kill on the exit. I do believe Seoul will take this back over, but it's only 86%. So now, final fight incoming.
Oh, that was a glorious shot from Architect. So clean.
Final fight could also last 5 minutes, though, because this is Gardens on Oasis.
Exactly. Guido, man, perfect stun right in, and Guido there as well guarantees the kill on Super. So things now for San Francisco Shock could be getting out of hand. Architect having to back off, change up his angle, does get the body shot. That's not going to be good enough, and Wikid just getting into the thick of things. Ejects Moth from the map.
In theory, even though it hasn't necessarily worked on the previous maps, them switching to Brigitte shows me that they've done a lot of research on what San Francisco likes to do. San Francisco doesn't really hide what they do. They dive for the most part. Super's more comfortable on the Winston, Sinatra's more comfortable on the Tracer, and that Brigitte, the hard counter to that dive. You saw the early jump in from Super, absolutely crushed by 3 people there. Generally, you're expecting to live through that and then jump out. Not going to be the case when you get stunned and deleted. Seoul Dynasty needs this map or the series is over.
It's like stun into Discord Orb, into nothing but headshots when the Zenyatta's point blank. That stings, Hex, that stings. Super, well, not so much that time. Still, this is what Seoul Dynasty need to do to stay alive in this series. 2-0 right now for San Francisco Shock. Seoul Dynasty hanging in there. Toby looking nonplussed. But, guys, the job isn't over yet. There is still a chance to run it back in this series. And so we have to see now, Seoul Dynasty, are they capable? Can they keep it together here and get this series on the road for them?
Compositionally, you have to favor Seoul right here, just because they're able to run a Pharah and Widow, whereas San Francisco Shock, I don't think they really have the players who can run it to the same level that Seoul can. And it's just a better map for Pharah Widow than it is Widow Tracer.
There you go. I mean, Architect, I mean, he's got strong shoulders.
He could carry. Yeah, he absolutely could carry.
Could make it happen. We've seen some crazy things in the past from him. Blizzworld comes to mind for sure on the Genji. But now it's about the Widow play, and he's pulled ahead as far as ults are concerned right now. Fleta not quite able to have that impact. It is going to be the fight. Who will get the capture first and start getting the percentage on the board? Seoul Dynasty keeping their tanks alive right now. Sleepy kind of hanging out on the edge, looking for an angle to get a volley in, but it's going to be Fleta finding the shot on Architect. Headshot. Moth will be able to bring him back to life, but that means that Moth isn't healing his teammates in the meantime, and they're getting overrun. Seoul Dynasty pouncing on the opportunity. They take advantage.
And Seoul made the switch instantly. As soon as they first lost the Pharah, they just went right over to Brigitte. And we've seen how good Brigitte can be on this map, especially in control of it. How do you ever dive into this? And they will chase down Architect for a nice stagger kill. And really, the dive is what carried the San Francisco Shock on Horizon Lunar Colony. They were able to get in there constantly. They were able to harass the back line. And so now they're just making the adjustment of probably the most pure anti-dive hero that's ever been introduced into the Overwatch ecosystem.
I mean, if you're going to be stubborn, you're going to have to get good. You're just going to have to get the job done.
Is it, like, McCree is considered anti-dive somewhat, but if you send 2 people at McCree, it's like kind of over. You only have a single flashbang, and you just don't have the throughput there. He's got the burst damage. I mean, you're diving into this kind of line, and that's what happens.
Insta-stunned, insta-wrecked, Sinatra dead, and the follow-up is there. Fleta capitalizes, takes down Moth. Nevix as well, and San Francisco Shock once again sent packing, 50% and counting for Seoul Dynasty. Man, Fleta's feeling it so well right now. He's even going for just the long shots.
He's trying to surf that edge too and was unable to get over the top. Doesn't matter, we'll get Architect on the way out, and that is again that they've been able to stagger a hero who's trying to retreat.
Oh, I'm loving the aggression. Even getting the pressure in there. Putting Moth on notice. As far as the ults are concerned, though, San Francisco, they've got everything they need. There's the self-destruct. It's creating space, allowing Nevix to get his team out there. Super going in deep right now, but he's got the primal, decides to pop it early. Wakid will get the stun off, but it was a second too late. But Jaehong, in the meantime, is gone for a primal of his own. He's batting around the back line right now for San Francisco.
And again, there goes Super, who's stunned twice during his primal. Here's the rally for everyone, and it's just kind of a solo rally. He doesn't care if his team gets armor. Now he will come back in and deal with it. Architect does get a kill. Moth is able to bring Super back because they have to win this fight. They have to go all out.
It's all or nothing now for San Francisco. They've got the man advantage right now. Is it going to carry over, though? That's the question. Moth is just hanging in here barely, but Moth and Sleepy dead. Architect with the blade, trying to make the hero play, but it's not going to be good enough. Toby is gone, but that's it. And right now, Seoul Dynasty, everything favors them to close out this map in rapid fashion. Could be a clean 2-0 here for Seoul Dynasty, getting them a map on the board in the series. So Zumba right now, he's going to be able to force Sinatra off at this point. The longer overtime goes, the quicker it'll be over. And yep, sure enough, just a last-second contest, but that will be it. Seoul Dynasty keeping the series alive here, picking up their first map.
Turns out Brigida is still pretty good against those diving heroes. Super got shocked more often than not. A little surprised they didn't switch the comp to their own Pharah once that got closer to the end, but we have a map number 4 coming up right after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel. Intel Core i7 powers the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
A self-destruct for a Mercy, and the pick off on Raucus. That's all you really need.
In week 5 of stage 3, the Shock looked to close out the Outlaws on Oasis, but Houston was making a strong push to take the round on the tiebreaker map. With both Outlaws supports having their ults, the Shock had to take them out.
Oh, they got Raucus. That could be it. It's going to be any wrong.
And they got Bonnie as well.
Down.
Sleepy won the Zenyatta duel by taking out Raucus. Then Nevix sent his self-destruct in to eliminate Bonnie's Mercy before he could res the Outlaw Zen back into the fight.
The Shock are in a great spot. They'll capture this point back after getting 2 crucial picks.
The Shock cleaned up the rest of the Outlaws, took the map and the match.
And San Francisco fans, this is what you were promised at the start of the Overwatch League. You were patient, you waited, and now your team is starting to deliver.
That right there was the turning point where the San Francisco Shock turned a sour moment into something sweet. Presented by Sour Patch Kids Candy.
So, there is a chance here for the San Francisco Shock to turn this sour moment into something sweet. They stumbled, Hex.
Yeah.
They couldn't figure it out on Oasis, and now Seoul Dynasty are on the board.
Yeah, it's just surprising that they kept running the same thing into...
You were telling me.
Yeah.
That great lane during the break.
I mean, they Shanghaied that one. They literally Shanghaied Oasis because they just kept running dive into Brigitte.
Is that going to become a term?
Well, I mean, it's
like, hey, you know,
it's very recent history. If you follow the Overwatch League, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And Dallas just rocked him on Oasis because they're like, hey, you know what's not working against Brigitte? Dive. Let's add more dive elements into this mix. And Wakid played really well on the Brigitte.
Sure.
He did. And he was being super aggressive with it because he was just like, he used a rally to chase down people. It was actually really funny. But our next map will be Gibraltar. And Seoul looking to send us to a map number 5 here. The San Francisco Shock looking to close it out.
Yeah, looking to end it here. So there is still a chance. There's still a chance for them to get that sweet, sweet victory and end it in 4 maps. Well, as far as Seoul is concerned, they're not interested. They are big fans of the sour. So, hey.
I don't know who does those, but he sounds really handsome.
Yeah, dude, devilishly so. You ever run into him, man, it's life-changing. Curious to see what Seoul Dynasty are going to have on board for us here. Fleta on the Brigitte could be fun.
Well, I mean, San Francisco mostly runs Widow Tracer on this map. And Widow has been so good on Gibraltar always because the sight lines are just crazy. I feel like it was crafted with Widow in mind. Because you can see from like first to last, it's insane the kind of sight lines that you get. But
Sure.
They were running that into a team that was not running a Brigitte. So can they make adjustments if that does come out? But it does look like it's going to be... Architect's going to switch. This arrow's just to look for this team. Yep, there it is. You will switch onto it, and this is Widow Tracer versus a defensive Genji from Wakid, and Fleta is on a Widow of his own. So Gibraltar, so much about the Widow duel, so much about the tanks trying to take high ground so that the Widows can get sight lines. And this first push is going to be inconsequential. The fights really start happening when you get under what used to be the first point of this map.
The car wash, yeah. And that's where they're going. It is Architect starting it off strong with a headshot and a follow-up onto Wakid. That was beautiful. And that's really going to open things up here for San Francisco Shock now that Wakid's out of the picture. Architect just gets to run game, although Fleta has been brought back to life. There are angles exactly you can see right now. Architect kind of hunting.
I mean, they're doing about the same amount of damage, you can tell, because the ultimates are charged similarly, but it's just been hitting the headshots and finishing kills. Meanwhile, Fleta does go down. They're not able to resurrect that one. Sinatra throws into the back line, throws down, and San Francisco will take first with absolute ease.
Getting flashbacks to Blizz World here. Fleta with the stagger as well. So,
that's 8 kills to 0 so far. This is the pulse bomb.
Listen, if you really want me to pulse bomb you guys,
keep coming into that corner.
Exactly. Like they're begging for it. Please. Please, another highlight moment for Sinatra. He hasn't been getting enough of them this series. You know, we really need to set the guy up.
This needs to be a stabilizing fight for Seoul, because you can get snowballed on this point if you can't come back in. However, if the defense can stabilize here, then it becomes much more difficult for the offense to come in and aggress, because Fleta is going to have better angles, better lines, and it's just so hard to walk in through these doors. But right now, it's just San Francisco moving unfettered.
It's looking really good for San Francisco. They can get up this bend. It is going to be Super throwing himself in there, but he's got the primal to keep himself alive. Guido right now the focus of attention, and yet again Guido will be the first to fall. Jae-Hong follows suit. things aren't looking too good here for Seoul Dynasty. Wakid has got the Dragon Blade. Perhaps he can find a target, and he's looking for it. Architect, though, able to dash it back to safety. Wakid not really getting a whole lot of it, although he does get the reflect, the parting shot.
I mean, style points, but you still got to deal with Sinatraa. The self-destruct comes in over the top, clears out the rest, so there's only 2 remaining. It's just Wakid and his Genji. Make that just dinner for 1, and Wakid, Sleepy takes him out. We are at 16 kills to 2.
Right, and 8 of those final blows are Sinatra's. Just saying. The man is unleashed right now. He is a beast.
Yeah, Architect got like the first 2 opening kills, and those were rezzed up, and then Sinatraa is just crushing right now. This is ridiculous.
He's going off. This is sick. There's nowhere safe to hide either. He's in a blink position here if he wanted to really get feisty.
Well, Sinatraa does like to triple blink into aggression and rewinds. That's kind of one of his styles. No need to right there. We'll just take the free kill on Jaehong.
He continues to spot them out. Now he's going to get up here on the high ground. Not going to let them get too comfortable. Seoul Dynasty right now. Yep, getting put on notice. And well, Sinatraa, that would be a big one. Just going to keep it on here. Toby, nowhere safe to hide. Rest of his team have backed off, though. Wakid did find Super, so no main tank. Going to slow things down a little bit for San Francisco Shock. Super, though, will be able to res up pretty close.
It's kind of force them to switch into this Brigitte. They kind of have to. Give us an answer here. And Brigitte has kind of slowed Sinatraa down in the past. It's a matter of if they can get the focus there from the rest of their team. This is also like one of those very artificial choke points. It's a huge defender's advantage right up around this bend.
Well, that's going to help things. Wakid is out of it. Not quite going to find that kill. Sinatraa going for the big plays. Fair enough. I like it. And he is going to stay alive. Zumba now running the risk of getting DMX'd with Sinatraa still in this. Moth has brought Super back into the fight. Jaehong locked in a room with Sinatraa. That's the last thing you want. Real horror show. And yep, Sinatraa finds him. 10 kills, 10 final blows and counting for Sinatraa, and he hasn't died yet.
It's been ridiculous, and that is a huge self-destruct from Nevix. He also is going to DMX Zumba with that self-destruct. Sinatraa finally dies, so maybe they can stem the bleeding here with this Brigitte just flailing away quite literally.
Yes, and a good rally as well. Actually managed to get some armor on his teammates there, so Guido's going to be happy about that. Been having a bit of a rough time, but now he's got quite a bit of armor to rely on. Fleta changing up the angle now. Going to be looking for that long sight line. Preferably the headshots, and yep, there we go, there's one.
Well, Architect has Infrasight, so you're gonna, yes, he pops it immediately so that they're just in this game of avoiding each other and trying to kill the other people around. That shot goes into a shield, just trying to find anything out of these two. The winner of this next Widow duel could very well win the game for his team.
But it keeps getting so close as well, but there's Sinatraa, yet again, out of nowhere. Finds the headshot on Fleta. Now he's just going to be poking the back line. Rez does go off, so Fleta will be back in this fight. Sinatraa instead just trying to farm that pulse as quickly as possible. Jaehong has gone primal. Can they focus him down, though? He is kind of cut off here from the rest of his team, and in the meantime, Super has found Guido. The Rez should be on cooldown here for Toby as well. Should be able to bring him back.
Huge investment from both teams. They used everything that they had in the bank, and now self-destructs will come out. Zumba's got one of his own. He will use it to try to remech. So many divas are getting punished for trying to call down a new mech and not going for an aggressive self-destruct. And San Francisco rolling.
Yeah, they look unstoppable right now. 2 minutes 20 on the clock. They're running in one after another here for Seoul Dynasty. Toby prompted to switch to the Ana. Guido going for the doofus, just hoping to get back in this fight fast enough, but denied. Sinatraa with 2, continues to style, continues to look fantastic here in the home stretch, as Jaehong is now the last man alive, trying to keep this going. And well, it is going to be a question of whether Wakid can get out the door. The body block there from Nevix. Excellent work, denies the contest. And that's what. Yeah, let's just take a look at these stats real quick, because this is bonkers. Sinatraa right now.
Yeah, 25 eliminations, 13 final blows, 1 death. I mean, let's give credit to Nevix, too. 21 eliminations, not quite the same final blows. He's a diva. 6, didn't die at all, though. And guess who else didn't die? Moth. Not once, what? Not never.
You know what? That performance deserves, what is it, the Rolling Thunder of the Sour Patch Thunder Sticks. So if you're fans of San Francisco Shock, this is their chance to close it out to win the series versus Seoul Dynasty. All they have to do is hold.
And it was kind of Brigitte be damned. He was still going after her a little bit, and one of the nice things was he had the Moth pocket on him. Instead of pocketing Architect in the back, they were pocketing Sinatraa up front, so he would get bashed, but then like the damage wasn't coming through quick enough to finish him, especially towards the end. He got bashed and almost comboed, but he had the Mercy pocket on him. Was able to live through some of that, and he just wrecked them. And he made them play something that maybe they didn't want to play. You had to switch to Brigitte there. You had to.
Yeah, now it's just going to be a question of whether they can wake up or not. Fleta right now, not quite winning anything, not really quite having that impact. Only a single final blow, 4 limbs. Well, I mean, the whole team here for Seoul Dynasty, 8 kills total on that defense. That's a bit of a brutal one compared to the 35 that San Francisco Shock finished with.
And San Francisco Shock did 8,000 more damage. And it's 28,000 total to 20,000 total, rounding down just a little bit to make numbers easier, because you know how I am with numbers. But that's ridiculous.
I don't know, a stellar performance here on these Escorts. San Francisco Shock, we saw the same thing on Blizzard World, where they just rolled right on through. It wasn't until the 3rd point that Seoul had anything to say. Well, here on Gibraltar, they've got they've got nearly 2 minutes in the bank here, San Francisco Shock. It's on Seoul Dynasty now. Bit of an aggressive hold coming in from San Francisco Shock, at least at the beginning. Jaehong just launches himself in there. No fear at all from him.
It just goes to show you that some of these map scores going into Stage 4 are going to be misleading because we hadn't played these maps in a while. These teams are so different than they were the last times we played these maps. So, small sample size so far, just trying to let you know how they did earlier, but this San Francisco team is entirely different.
Oh, double sniper here from Seoul Dynasty. I like it. Wicked actually staying on the Hanzo. Somebody's been playing matchmaking. Well, you know, we'll see. If he's going to be able to get anything out of it. Quite possible. Definitely so. Fleta on the Widow as well, still hunting for angles, but now that Wikid's got control of this high ground, that is going to make things just a little bit interesting here for San Francisco Shock. Yep, sure enough, as soon as Nevik shows himself, boom, arrow to the face, and those hurt.
It's also going to help against Sinatraa. Hanzo can be a soft counter to her with a scatter arrow if it's up, but, you know, caster curse continues as Sinatraa takes down Wikid.
Yeah, no, Hex, just keep going. just keep going. Teams are going to start a petition. Please, please, we need to win this map, Hex.
Stop praising us.
Well, the fight is here for Seoul. Guido will find Super, so that's a headshot there to kick things off. Fleta gets Moth as well. And that's a high-value target if ever there was one, but hey, you still haven't dealt with the raid boss that is Sinatraa.
I mean, it's very reminiscent of Tracer versus a McCree. So once you bait out the main ability, then you should be able to win that. But if he catches you unaware with a scatter arrow, you're just deleted from the map, or if you get flashbang, you're also gone. But now they're going to switch into defensive dive because despite how good Sinatraa looked there, everyone else got kind of beat up a little bit. And now this is that big point in Gibraltar. Can you stabilize on the defense at least once and then get yourself in a good position? Architect has gone over to Genji.
Well, Super deciding to go Primal right now. He is definitely opening doors for the rest of his team. Moth decides to commit the Valkyrie as well to this fight. And so San Francisco Shock, so far, looking pretty good. The self-destruct thrown in a double. Guido and Wikid out of it, and Toby can't quite find the res. He's got to back off.
He's absolutely chased down, and that's the fight that you need. Now you can set up perfectly wherever you want to be for the San Francisco Shock. You can set up this dive. Architect is on the Genji, so it's not going to be the Widow holding all these doors, but it's still fine when there's a Genji. You're going to throw shurikens through these doors. So instead of the first push where you get to walk through that gorgeous double door, now you got 4 tiny little corridors to go through.
I mean, it's how many horse-sized doors do you want to fight?
You tried.
I tried, X. You got a big door, you got a bunch of small ones. You know, which do you prefer? Well, right now, if you're on the offense, the big door would definitely be it, but it's not meant to be. Sinatraa finally laid low by Wikid. Turns out a flail to the face will get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, this is super anti-dive now because you've got Brigitte and you've got McCree. Gonna try to just use stuns to punish Architect and Sinatraa. Sinatra's reacting to this by going with a Junkrat. And that's generally thought of as the best answer to a Brigitte. If you see her, just go Junkrat.
Just get the pump damage in there. Zumba will find a kill on Moth with the self-destruct, and this is shaping up nicely here for Seoul Dynasty, getting those high-value targets. Sinatraa, he drops Jaehong, but that's a little bit too little here.
a couple of kills. Architect's lurking in the back. He wants the rest of his team to re-engage, and he wants to come up over the top where the supports are not going to know that he's up there. I don't think they have the intel that he's up here. He would like to get to the supports when Brigitte engages the front line.
Oh, there we go. Oh, the perfect one. No denying it. Guido and Fleta dead. Architect gets to run rampant now. Toby's flying high with the wings, but the rest of his team, I mean, you're going to be hard-pressed to get the reses off now, Toby. Architect is just taunting him.
Wiki died to Sinatra's passive as well. That's one way to kill a Brigitte, rather. And now it's time for Seoul to regroup and get rallied and give everyone enormous health pools. Also, you know, difficult to deal with a dive composition, but I think it's so smart that Sinatra went over immediately to this Junkrat. Let Architect do his thing on the Genji, because Genji's got just a little bit better ultimate ability to get back there and take out multiple people. And that's what he was doing. He was scouting to make sure that the Brigitte was not on the back line with their team, and she was a little far forward.
Well, it's like you've got the rally, but San Francisco Shock immediately got a six-pack. Like, they have got many, many ults to work with now going into this next fight. No kill there for Sinatra, unfortunately. That's not exactly the high-value tire he was looking for. But this is slowing things down for Seoul Dynasty, who are trying to get control of this high ground so they can get back onto that payload that has started to work its way back to spawn. That's no good. Seoul need to get a body on there, start contesting that. Super gonna get forced off the high ground. Architect, he's gonna be the next target of choice. He's got a Dragon Blade again, nearly for this next fight.
They're in a decent position if they can avoid this Deadeye. They cannot. Super's bubble gets broken, and then he gets shot in the head with that Deadeye.
Oh, self-destructs all over the place, though. Not quite going to do it, though. Architect, again, with the blade, finds the one. Sinatra's there to chime in as well. Both of the tanks are dead for Seoul Dynasty, and Wakid follows suit. Big plays coming in here for San Francisco to turn it around. A minute left on the clock for Seoul Dynasty, and once again, they're forced to retreat.
And everyone used just about everything they had during that fight, except for Sleepy. He's going to have his Transcendence available whenever he would need it.
Oh, you got to give it to Sinatra. He hasn't let up one bit. 19 final blows and counting. The man is a monster. So haven't quite found the answer just yet. And when, you know, you're focused on Sinatra, hey, there's this guy Architect who's decapitating the rest of your team. Or just going in with the stylus reflect. Okay, then that works too. Toby, if you're gonna go for this, you better hope.
Look how afraid they are of him. They double peeled there for their mercy. They knew they had to so they could reset up at least a decent fight with 20 seconds, but Architect has put the fear of God in them.
Oh, that was a nice dash attempt there. Unfortunately, not able to make it out intact. Architect relegated back to spawn. Sinatra's still here, though, to just pump damage into these bodies.
Architect's back. And
no, never mind.
He's nearing another blade.
He's so quick on this blade. And, well, now it is going to be Seoul Dynasty. They've got the presence here. Super is going to throw himself in here. He's got that bubble to keep himself alive, and he's just going to keep contesting it. And then, I mean, get a body on there. Nick of time save. Barely there. But then you've got Architect hacking up the bits. Jaehong is going to find one, but that's not going to be good enough here as Sinatra chimes in with a tire for Wakid. And this is, yet again, San Francisco hanging in there. 4 players alive for Seoul Dynasty, but they're playing the angles right now, San Francisco. They're buying as much time as possible.
Wakid better hope they win this fight because he went all in after one person after rallying, and he left his backline completely exposed. They will not. And San Francisco starts the season off with a nice win over Seoul.
Unbelievable there for Seoul Dynasty at the end. That is a loss that will sting, considering they had 4 alive around that payload. They just could not get a body onto the point long enough to keep that overtime wick from burning down.
Wakid solo rallied into the back to try to get Moth, and that just left his backline completely exposed again, probably not expecting another blade from Architect, and he caught up that backline. Such good play, and the players for San Francisco have to be thrilled with how well that went.
Yeah, you got to give it to him. I mean, a lot of talk about Sinatra, and rightly so. I mean, 39 limbs, 21 final blows for 3 deaths. That's a bonkers performance from him. But then you got Architect.
I think
13 final blows.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about everyone. You could talk about their tanks. I thought Nivix has been one of the most consistent players in the league. He always has been for this team, and they might be the most overlooked support line. Moth barely dies. Sleepy often is getting kills. He low-key carries them at some points when they're not playing all that well, so this is becoming a very complete team.
That's the progress, the patience paying off, and well, you know, for the San Francisco Shock, you know, coaches and management, they're over there just wiping the sweat off their brows like, ah, finally, okay. the gamble might have worked out here, because it was definitely a rough start to the season for this team. But now things are looking up. Now that they have the players here to make it happen.
Well, you know, we've talked to their management and things like that, and they're like, no, we were always looking forward to this. We knew what was going to happen. We were just going to be super patient.
Of course, that's what they say, Hanks.
Well, no, but they were saying that since like day 1 and 2, right?
That's just no,
this was I felt it was honest. Maybe I'm a fool, but this was like stage 1 stuff. They're like, no, we're building long term. We're going towards the future. Let's see if Zoe will back me up here.
Oh, of course, I will back you up. I'll back you up with anything you say, really. Now, please give it up for Architect and his team, the San Francisco Shock, a dominant performance against the Seoul Dynasty. Now, I never got a chance to actually chat with you. You joined the Shock in stage 3, and now you're here next to me. So let's hear it from you. What are you bringing to the team?
일단 제가 쇼크에 들어와서 많이 바뀐 점은 아마도 영웅폭이 넓다 보니까 팀에 대한 기여를 많이 할 수 있었던 것 같고, 그리고 절 믿어주고 경기에 내보내주셔서 보답할 수 있었던 것 같아요.
With me joining the team, I feel like I have a very broad hero pool, and there's a variety of heroes that I could utilize. And I want to thank the team and the managers and every staff for trusting in me and just putting me on the spot and letting me play.
All right, well, you've been performing absolutely fantastic on that stage. Now, during halftime, I got to talk to your coach, your head coach for that matter, and I talked about the general approach you guys have to your opponents when you're practicing. And he said he actually doesn't want to really prepare for individual teams and have a set strat. He wants you guys to be reactionary and intelligent. How do you practice that?
한 가지의 전략적인 것보다는 이제 조금 더 경기를 하면서 이 팀이 이렇게 할 것 같다 이런 작전이 있다고 해요. 그러면 이제 쇼크의 작전은 뭔지, 어떻게 그런 연습을 하는지 작전 연습을.
일단은 예전 같으면은 많이 제가 들어오기 전에 약간 좀 영웅이 좀 제한적이다 보니까 할 수 있었던 게 적었던 것 같은데, 이번에 제가 들어오면서 좀 더 많은 영웅들을 좀 조합을 여러 가지를 다루면서 좀 더 팀이 많은 전략을 사용할 수 있게 된 것 같아요.
So before I joined in, I felt like the Shock had a little bit of limited amount of combinations or strategies that we could utilize, because there wasn't a player that could have a vast majority of characters that could be used. But with me, who has a vast hero pool, now we could try different combinations and different strategies, and I think that's what we do in our practices.
All right, so Architect bringing a lot of opportunities for his team. Thank you so much for joining me. We're now once more heading over to the desk to break down the game.
Congratulations to Architect and the San Francisco Shock to get a big win over Seoul tonight. Also, big shout out to Danny as well as Zoe down on the floor. Guys, let's talk about the end of this match, because Game 3 loaded up. Seoul had us nervous, but then they locked up a big win here, Johnny. They showed some life in the second half.
There was some effect on Flera turning up on the Widowmaker for sure. So they looked a lot better on Oasis, and it felt like they started to pop off. But overall, it didn't really carry over to Gibraltar as much. They still played the Brigitte over there, and on Oasis, of course. So yeah, they worked on Oasis, but in the end, wasn't enough, Bren.
I definitely give some props to Weekheed, I think, as a player as well on the Brigitte. He didn't really play as consistently well on the other maps like you were saying on Gibraltar either, but on Oasis definitely had a solid performance. He shut down Sinatra quite often.
Yep.
And I mean, I know firsthand as a Tracer player, right? When you get shut down by the Brigitte, it's not a fun time in the slightest. So
when you force Sinatra to the Junkrat,
when you force Sinatra to the Junkrat, you're doing something right. But unfortunately, not quite enough as we went into Gibraltar, where it was a similar story. Architect really to start this show, setting his team up, and Sinatra in this final bit here, he went absolutely ham on the enemy team. I felt sorry for Seoul. They were getting obliterated in their own base.
Well, that was what 150k gives you, right? So
absolutely.
Him and Architect started to pop off, and we know that Gibraltar was a really good map for the San Francisco Shock. They won it earlier this week as well, where Architect really was the superstar over and over again. I mean...
Can't even get shut down by the Brigitte, maybe. No. Does he die here? He doesn't even die. He gets the heals. Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff as well that his team has been supporting him so well, despite the fact that he is running a Genji into like a Brigitte, which you think, you know, that's a big no-no, right? You don't want to be doing that at all because you can get shut down so easily. But no, he just runs it anyway. He has complete trust in his team to enable him. And that's the beauty of it. That's what
if you have a Genji that's better than the Brenji, then you can do that.
Yeah, if you're a good Genji, put him in the game. I like it. All right, guys. Well, speaking of good Genjis, we got a lot more highlights, and they're all from your player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. We've said his name a lot.
Can you get
Here it is one more time. Architect!
The man himself. I mean, he has, honestly, what have we said already about Architect?
Johnny, was there ever any doubt that Architect would be playing at this level? When you watched him in Stage 3, when he was brought into the Shock originally, were you worried for this guy?
I could play the Brent card and just praise him, but instead I'm gonna say no. We didn't really know what to expect from him. We knew he had a fantastic Genji, we know that he has a deep hero pool, but knowing that he would be this fantastic on the Widowmaker and hit scan heroes in general, I don't think we could have expected that really. But he has really started to shine with his deep hero pool overall. Just the peak level he reaches on all of these heroes. Sure, you can be a good flex player, consistent, but the peak level on all of these different heroes is insanity.
Flexibility seems to be the key here in Stage 4. And speaking of Stage 4, we got to check in on our standings. We've seen 3 days of action, very strong performances from squads like the Gladiators, the Houston Outlaws, but there's still going to be just 4 teams at the end of this stage. The question I have for you guys is, who from the bottom can rise up? You got Boston, Seoul, London, all sitting without a win.
Yeah, how's Dallas doing?
It's still feasible. As much as you might joke on me, right? Look at this middle of the pack. We're still early days yet into Stage 4. So realistically, a team could go on a tear here and absolutely claim some wins and potentially get into that top 4 seedings for the Stage 4 standings. But it is anyone's game still.
Yep,
still too early to really call it.
And it's still very close with our overall league standings. Every team will play 40 matches, and you can see currently 3 teams are there at 19 wins, 2 teams at 18. That middle of the pack, so tight, and only the top 6 will be playing in New York City in July.
Yes, and London Spitfire dropping as well. They're playing versus the New York Excelsior tomorrow. That will be a really fun game. I'm hoping that Birdring maybe starts popping up again.
Philadelphia Fusion, another squad to keep your eye on as well. And of course, Los Angeles Valiant trying to steal that #1 spot in the Pacific Division. It was a good day overall. I want to ask you guys before we go, best part of the week. It was your final show. Johnny, for anyone that missed the games, what do they need to go back and watch on Overwatch.com?
It wasn't about the games for me as well. Bantering with Brent. That was fun.
Yeah, you enjoyed our time on the desk together?
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that, Johnny. Take my hand. Come on.
No.
Take my hand.
No, I'm going
Don't be
to keep you
awkward.
hanging.
Brenty, what about you, sir?
I like being left hanging by Johnny on the desk at the end of the day. That's very fun. I love seeing clips on Reddit of me being awkward. That's fantastic.
I like it. Well, enough from us here at the desk. If you got the Twitch All Access Pass, remember, we got our AMAs after every show. Today, we got the king, Jae-Hong, will be answering your questions. Send them in right now. What does he think about playing tank? I want to know. Ask him. Put it in the chat. We'll see you tomorrow. The action kicks off bright and early. We'll see you then with the action on Saturday.